21, we got Philly. Philly desperately needs wide receiving help. Nelson Aguilar is finally gone. Unfortunately, he's found his way over to my team in Vegas. But outside of that, Alshon Jeffrey's not getting any younger. They kind of struck out with the pick of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside last year from Stanford. Wasn't a fantastic fit. Maybe he does a little bit more year two, but we don't know. Outside of that, I'm not really sure what they have to look forward to in receiving help. And this is arguably the best receiving draft we've seen since 2014. I'm giving him Justin Jefferson here. Super underrated player on every board. I know he's probably going to pencil himself in at that 4 spot in pretty much every board, but from what I've heard from people, it kind of seems like it's like that Judy and Lamb 1-2, and Ruggs is like a little bit below them, and then it drops down to Jefferson. I'll take Jefferson in that same class of those 3 guys any day of the week. He catches everything. He's a predominantly slot receiver, which is fine by me. I mean, so is Michael Thomas, and you see what he does.
Right.
I like the fact that he's a little bit taller in the slot. You get that big slot aspect. He's about 6'2", 6'3". He is fantastic after the catch. Like I said, he doesn't drop a single pass. He had a good quarterback last year, and there's no doubt about it, but I think he is a product of his own self. One of my big questions on tape as I broke down LSU's offense was, and I brought it up with Burrow when we talked about the first pick. Was Burrow making the receivers better, or was the receivers making Burrow better? How about everybody on that LSU offense was just freaking awesome?
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Like, they're all great. Jamar Chase is a top 10 pick next year. We'll get into it later, but I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my number 1 back, over DeAndre Swift. I love this team. I love the players they have. Justin Jefferson is an easy pick, makes Carson Wentz's life a whole lot better.
Agreed. Minnesota Vikings, 22 overall. I have them again. They missed out on Justin Jefferson here. I have them taking a receiver. They traded Stephon Diggs. They get a guy, tough dude, Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor.
Love
Really, the knock on him is just typical Baylor stuff with receivers. What's his route tree like?
Yeah.
Came from the spread. Is he going to be like a Corey Coleman situation in terms of route running? I like his hands. I think he's got strong hands. He can high point the football. Powerful dude, tough guy, nasty. He'll get in your face. He'll run block. Kind of perfect for what Minnesota does.
Absolutely.
So I think that, they're going to like him in Minnesota, and I think he's going to end up being a pretty viable second option for Kirk Cousins. And even if he's a third option, that's fine with Kyle Rudolph and whatever. But I think he's a good fit there and a guy that they need.
Yeah. I'm not going to take credit for it whatsoever, but I had watched the film on Mims before the combine, and I absolutely fell in love with the dude.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, why isn't this guy getting talked about in the first round? Why isn't he getting talked about in the first round? I'm so happy that the scouts, after seeing him at the combine, kind of came around to the fact that this guy has to be a first to, at worst, an early second round pick. Contested catch, 4.3 speed. He's 6'3". I love the pick.
Yep.
All right. Number 23, a guy that just screams Patriots to me, Yetur Gross-Matos, the edge defender from Penn State, gives me a lot of Trey Flower vibes when I watch him play. I know people look at the measurables and see 6'5", 265. They kind of want to think of more of an athletic edge rusher in that Chase Young type of mold. But this guy is, funny enough, he's a better run defender than he is a pure pass rusher, which I did not expect to see on film, which I know makes Belichick and the guys over there very excited. You think of guys like Trey Flowers, who they've had. You think of, guys like – trying to think of other defensive linemen that they've let go. There's so many of them. But even like an Adrian Claiborne that they had for a couple of years over there, just like that bigger defensive end that set the edge well. I think Gross-Matos is going to develop as a pass rusher, which they certainly need after losing Van Noy and Jamie Collins and the likes of those guys. But I just love the pick here. He's a raw player. There's no question about it, which is why I think fit for him is most important to his success as we move forward. No better place to be than New England, and
Yeah,
I love the pick for them.
agreed. They're gonna put him in the best chance to succeed.
Absolutely.
Long guy, and I think he could play a little bit of everything on that defensive line. Bill Belichick loves the versatility. Couldn't agree.
Yeah.
More. New Orleans Saints 24. I have them taking actually one of my favorite linebackers in the draft, Patrick Queen from LSU. He really came on towards the end of last year. Really fast, sideline to sideline guy. You know, you pair him with Demario Davis. I mean, you're talking about tackling machines.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's going to be able to come in, be a good Mike linebacker. He could play a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. He can cover. He's fast. He's not a thumper. He's not a downhill Kenneth Murray type. But I don't think the Saints really need that. I think the Saints kind of like a guy who can do a little bit of everything, and he's going to be a playmaker for them. I think that's a good fit.
Yep, love the pick. Think he's going to fit really well next to Demario Davis, Alex Anzalone. Love that pick. He gets to stay close to home. Coming from LSU, he gets to stay in New Orleans. I think fantastic pick. He really started to jump off. Very similar to Chason. He really had his best games in the playoff games. Towards the end of the season. Love that pick. All right, so Vikings at 25. They got the pick from the Bills, and they are going to end up, they get their receiver at 22. At 25 now, after replacing Stephon Diggs from the trade, they sit at 25. They need a corner, and I'm going to have them take a guy who is arguably, one of my favorite guys that no one's really talking about, and that's A.J. Terrell.
Right.
A.J. Terrell from Clemson, long corner,
Love
years
him.
of production, plenty of experience. If they can get him in the right place to succeed, I think
Right.
he has the athleticism and the production to really, excel in Minnesota. Zimmer loves his long corners.
Yep.
He loves guys that are unafraid to tackle. The biggest thing on him is, oh my God, he got toasted by Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people did.
A lot of people did. And guess what? A.J. Terrell didn't get toasted by Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase made contested catch after contested catch against the guy.
Yep.
He was quick enough to keep up with him. He had a good enough technique to, handle what his route tree was, which was very, very large at LSU.
Right.
And guess what? Good job. You're a better football player than A.J. Terrell. That's why you're going to go in the top 10, and he's getting drafted at 25. But he's a good defensive back.
Yes.
He has the ability to keep up with any receiver you want, and I think he's exactly the type of guy that Minnesota needs after Xavier Rhodes has certainly fallen off the table and is not going to be there anymore.
Right.
I think there's a good pick for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. I think I like AJ Terrell again, kind of like one of those guys who you say is like a hidden talent. I think some people kind of sleep on him.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson. Listen, they like Clemson D-backs. They got Jaron Curse that they already had it play safety there for them, so they're used to scouting that area.
They just let go.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, I could totally see that fit there for them. And I actually think that A.J. Terrell is a better version of a Mackenzie Alexander.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Alexander was very hyped coming out. A.J. Terrell hasn't had that as much. So I do think he's a good pick. So I like that a lot.
Cool.
Next up, Detroit Lions. So this is a little bit of a controversial pick. And the reason I say that, it's Grant Delpit, safety out of LSU. Reason I say that is because Grant Delpit, you could have argued coming into the season, was a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
He was the what's the top defensive back award in college? Trying to think. Thorpe Award. I think he won the Thorpe.
Yes.
And he ended up that he didn't really have the best season.
Nope.
The Detroit Lions, of course, need secondary help. I think the value here is just too much for them to pass up.
I agree.
Grant Delpit, I think when it comes down to it, I think he's actually going to be listen, he's a football player.
Yeah.
I don't think that talent is just gonna all of a sudden he's gonna crap the bed, if you will. So I think that the Detroit Lions get a steal here. To be honest with you, at 26.
People want to complain, the guy didn't want to tackle a soul
Yeah,
last year.
right.
And I think the thing that pissed off everybody is they knew why he didn't want to tackle anybody.
Mhm.
He was dealing with some injury. He knows he's pretty much a lock to be a legitimate first-round draft pick next year. But you're keeping your body safe while your team's in the middle of a national championship run.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got the LSU fans upset, and I think
Yep.
that's what got scouts turned off.
Yep.
He's a legitimate first round talent at
Yeah.
safety. I don't think he has tackling issues
Right.
whatsoever. I think it was more of a want to. And
Agreed.
get him in the NFL with a guaranteed contract. He's going to want to tackle.
Right.
He can play single high. He can play in the box. He can
Exactly.
play anywhere. Love
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
27, Seattle.
All right, Seattle. I have
Love this pick,
taking.
by the way.
Oh, such a good pick for them. It's such a Seattle pick.
Yeah.
AJ Epinesa, the big edge defender out of Iowa. Seattle has shown one thing over the last couple of years that they've built such a dominant defensive presence. I don't care how fast you are, okay? I care if you're a nasty football player that wants to get after people, and I think that's exactly what AJ Epinesa is. Terrible combine. One of the worst we've seen from
Yeah.
top prospect in a long time, but I don't care. You throw on the film of this guy. He's going against Ohio State. He's going against the Wisconsins, the Michigans. He's a dominant force in the run and pass. He's that perfect end for Seattle where you talk about, the Michael Bennett's of the world that can play end on first and second down and then kick inside to D-tackle on third. This is that kind of guy. I think he's a perfect fit. I kind of wanted to throw him over to the Patriots too because it's a similar sentiment with what they look for. But I think Epenesa just fits in perfectly. This kind of takes him out of the Jadeveon Clowney sweepstakes, if you ask me. But I don't really care. I think you have AJ Epinesa and you just run with it. I think it's a perfect fit for them.
Yeah, I do too. I think AJ Epinesa reminds me a lot, being a Giants fan, of Chris Canty.
Oh yeah, that's a really good call.
That taller, big body, thick guy, powerful. He's going to be a powerful rusher, not a speed rusher.
Yes.
Again, can kick inside on third down, and I think that's where he's going to make his money. He could be like that better Leonard Williams, if you will, a 3 technique. So I think Epinesa, again, bad combine, put him in the right scheme with good coaching with Seattle, does have good fit.
Yeah, love that pick.
Baltimore.
Right. You're up again. Another linebacker for you coming off the board here.
Yeah. Actually, again, I really like this pick, Kenneth Murray, linebacker from Oklahoma, leader. He's going to be more of that downhill thumper. They lost, I don't know how to say his name, Patrick
Onwuasor?
Yeah, there you go, Onwuasor.
I only know because he signed with the Jets.
Yeah, a guy, that's kind of like more that speed guy. They had Mosley there who signed with the Jets. We
love our Baltimore linebackers.
What's that?
We love our Baltimore linebackers.
Yeah,
we would have traded for Ray Lewis too if they were.
Suggs, Ray Lewis. I mean, McLean. The list goes on and on. But I think Murray is actually just kind of that type of guy. I think Harbaugh wants that old school. He's just like that old school linebacker. I think Kenneth Murray would have been great in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But he could go sideline to sideline quick, really good burst.
He's
He
fast.
can accelerate. He's not coverage fast.
Right.
He's sideline to sideline fast. And I think that's exactly what Baltimore needs.
Yeah. I love the pick there. I love the fit. He's such a Ravens middle linebacker, the Bart Scotts, the Ray Lewises, the Mosleys. He fits right into that mold. I love that pick. Another guy here that you and I are both super high on, as we've talked about it more and more. We have the Tennessee Titans taking Zack Bond, the edge / linebacker out of Wisconsin. This guy just gets me so excited because to me, he's another versatile chess piece where you talk about another Belichick disciple in Mike Vrabel who loves versatile defenders. You get a guy like Zack Bond who reminds me so much of a Kyle Van Noy or a like an Anthony Barr type guy, maybe not the athlete of Barr, but just the role. He is not necessarily the big enough to play a true edge defender role, but he's also crafty enough to stick himself there and not have to bump inside and play inside linebacker. You know, a lot of people throw like the lazy TJ Watt comparison out there. I don't necessarily see it as much. I think TJ Watt was much more of an edge defender, a pass rusher. This guy, I think, can come off the edge very well. You see it on tape. He has good dip. He has, discipline in his rush lane. But I also think he has the quicks to be able to bail out and play some decent coverage if you stick him there at a 3-4 outside linebacker. I really like this pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think he really what he reminds me of is Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where I see him. And again, Vrabel coming from not so much the Belichick coaching tree, but the Belichick playing tree, if you will.
Playing disciple tree.
People forget that they like to use him under the Belichick coaching tree, and he is not.
No.
But again, very similar principles, similar philosophies in that sense. I think that Mike Vrabel would have a field day with him, to be honest. And they took the kid from Boston College last year.
Harold Landry.
Harold Landry, again, another edge guy. He's more your traditional, like Jason Babin type, pin your ears back, rush the passer. But I think that, you could do a lot of, kind of fake blitz, bail with him. Zack Bond's a really good player here. A guy who I would love in round 2 for the Giants, but he sneaks into the lower half of the second round, first round here.
All right, number 30 here, arguably my favorite pick that either of us have done throughout this first round.
Yeah, I like this pick too. Not just saying because I made it, but the fit, T. Higgins from Clemson, wide receiver. T. Higgins is, to be honest with you, gives Tom Brady, I was going to say, Aaron Rodgers, another really legit weapon outside of Davante Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Big body, catches. He's not going to be the over-the-top vertical threat, but to be honest with you, he's really just a good receiver. There's no way around it. He's a good receiver. He's going to be that red zone threat for them. He's going to take a lot of pressure, I think, off of Davante Adams. Which needs to happen. And they never really had that second when you look at the Packers, you say Davante Adams and then who?
Equanimeous St. Brown.
Right. They don't really have much. They don't, so that's tough.
Allison.
Yeah. So, come on. So T. Higgins gives them a legitimate receiver. And what the problem is that they look at T. Higgins and they say he's not fast. I don't care. He has that long speed. He has the
he
long.
He ran 4.5 at his pro day. He's not slow.
Exactly. So, I guess a little bit too. Justin Ross, he was a little overshadowed when Ross came on his freshman year, and him and Trevor Lawrence had that connection. But I think T. Higgins is going to be the pick here, and I think it's a steal for Green Bay. T.
Higgins, to me, I wax poetic about Justin Jefferson, but T. Higgins is the most underrated wide receiver in the draft, in my opinion, especially after what happened to him post-combine. He doesn't run a 40. People kind of use that as a red flag. They don't want to keep him high on the board. To me, he did participate in a couple of different drills at his pro day. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but his 3-cone drill would have been good for 6th at the combine among wide receivers.
Wow.
At 6'4", 215 pounds.
Yeah, that's great.
Which means he knows how to get in and out of a break, in his route tree. Sure. I just think he's the perfect fit for Rodgers. You talk about a 6'4" guy who's a contested catch machine, and then the back shoulder ball, the fade ball in the red zone. I just love this pick for them.
Right. Yep. Agreed.
All right.
31.
We got a trade. All right. Our last trade here of our first round. The Colts are making an appearance here. So very interesting to see the Colts trade their 13th pick to the 49ers for DeForest Buckner, and then trade with the 49ers come draft day to move back into the first round, this time at their 31st pick. There's one guy left on the board who makes so much sense to go sit behind Phillip Rivers and learn for a year or two, who has all the potential in the world. And I'm saying the Colts trade back into the first round and they select Jordan Love from Utah State. They give up, okay? I have it right here. Just give me a second. They give up in this trade the 34th overall pick, okay? So a second round pick. And then they also give up a late round pick just to make the trade work out. I think I had it as a fourth. Basically, the 49ers, they need to stockpile picks at this point because they don't have a lot of mid to late round picks. They say, we'll bump back whatever it is, 3 spots. We'll bump back 3 spots. We'll accumulate an extra fourth. The Colts, the reason why this is so important for them is if you trade back into the first round to draft Jordan Love, similar to what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson, you get the opportunity to give him a 5th-year option.
Right.
Which allots you the opportunity to eventually evaluate him for an extra year moving forward if he is the guy, which is why this trade is so important to happen. The Colts take Jordan Love, rocket arm type of guy. That Mahomes comparison to me, again, I talk about lazy comparisons all the time.
Yep.
You see what they're talking about, but I don't think he's nearly that type of a gunslinger. Arm talent is certainly there. Played with an awful Utah State team last year. Just couldn't catch the ball to save his life.
Yep.
Big reason why you saw that production drop off between 2019 and 2020. I like the pick here. He looks the part. He's 6'4", 220. He's a little slight, but that's okay. So is Deshaun Watson and guys like that. I think you put him in the perfect situation. I think the Colts, even after losing Andrew Luck, which was so unfortunate for them, their roster was still good enough to compete. I don't know many other teams that can rattle off, close to 500 football when your Pro Bowl / All-Pro quarterback decided to walk out of you on you in the middle of the preseason.
Yeah.
I don't know how many teams rebound from that, but they were able to because they're really well coached. They have a really good GM, and they have a really talented roster around whoever the quarterback is. It's Phillip Rivers this year. It could be Jordan Love next year. He'll have a top 3 to 5 offensive line in the sport when, he takes over. You can't really have a much better scenario for a young quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the Colts need to get a younger quarterback. I know that they threw, 25 mil for 1 year at Phil. I think that's it. I think it's 1 year. I don't think it's going to be a 1 year. I think it's it after this. I think Jordan Love needs a year at least to sit behind Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip Rivers is a good guy to learn from. I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to be like, here, bud, let me take you under my wing, but he'll learn from
his kids.
Yeah, exactly. Bring him over for dinner.
Yeah.
So that was good. I like that. But yeah, I think Jordan Love is a good fit here. And I agree. I think it's a good trade for them back. And I like what you said about San Fran coming back down. They need to recoup some picks and some assets. 32 overall, Kansas City Chiefs. Again, this is one of my favorite guys. My number 1 center, Cesar Ruiz, Michigan. What I really like about him in this fit here is he's a really good pulling center. He's really quick, and he's got really good mobility in that sense. He's got good feet. They run on a lot of those zone schemes. They'll be able to get him out in space with the tunnel passes, the shovel passes, the screen game, the toss, whatever you want, the option. He's going to be a really good center for them. They miss Mitch Morse, who left for Buffalo. But, I think that this is just a really stout, rock-solid guy for them at center. He'll be there for the next 10 years with Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, no question. I love the pick here. The biggest priority for this team right now is obviously how do we work out a contract with Patrick Mahomes to make him the highest paid player in NFL history and keep him here for the rest of the time. You surround him with talent on the offensive line, he's going to be inclined to stay here even more if he wasn't already.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you had to say about Ruiz in terms of his ability to be mobile. I think of, guys in the Andy Reid tree that have had success with mobile type of centers. You easily think of Peterson with Kelsey in Philly. I think it's a similar fit here with Ruiz. And, you get a young center. He can easily kick over to guard if you wanted to stick with, I I think it's Andrew Wiley they have right now.
Yep.
Steven Wisniewski
Yeah.
playing guard for a little bit last year. If you wanted to keep that going just for chemistry's sake, that's fine. He can play guard and he'll still be productive.
Right.
Love the pick. I think it's a really good way to close out the first round. And I love you, Matt, for not taking DeAndre Swift because
Hey, no problem.
that just drove me crazy.
No problem.
Thank you. All right. I wanted to dive into the second round, but we are strapped for time here.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make it a little bit of bonus content, throw it up on the channel, maybe on a Wednesday right before the draft. We can kind of run through that second round. Matt, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This went way longer than I expected it, but it's great content, man. And your knowledge and your acumen when it comes to all things draft made this, be the episode it was. I appreciate you so much. And I know we'll be talking leading up to draft day and certainly during.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you so much. As I sign us off here, just want to say thank you guys for watching. This is James Alba here with D4 Sports, sport content for the walk-ons of life. All right, thank you guys so much. NFL draft coming on Thursday. We are excited to finally get some sports stuff to talk about that isn't esports or what MLB player is playing MLB The Show, because we're tired of it, man. We're ready for the draft. We look forward to it all year. And big thanks to Roger Goodell for not postponing it or canceling it. We're looking forward to it. All right, man. Be good. And thank you all for watching. Peace out.